CM Punk fans are some of the funniest people out there. You would think that they believe that their favorite is a sim. He has no control over himself. He has no agency, no control. And it's really funny that we have to sit here and pretend like this 50-year-old man, or whatever his age is, doesn't have control over his own abilities. Oh, it's somebody else's fault. It's never his fault. No, how can that be? It's Hangman's fault. Hangman started all this. Except, people need to forget that Hangman cut a promo, which was like, yeah, a promo was more of a shoot, whatever. And then months later, CM Punk comes in and blasts him on air in another shoot when Hangman wasn't there. Okay, you know what? That's it for that. That's good at that point. And that's really where things should have just ended. It should have been that. Oh, they shoot on each other, and that's it. Moving on. But you see, things get a little bit more interesting because everybody wants to blame the Elite for, oh, they spread the rumor about Colt Cabana not appearing on TV because of Punk. And the truth of the matter is that we have no idea about that. You have to understand that it's quite funny that Cabana didn't just appear on TV anymore once Punk came in. And if we are to believe Conan, who went there and at some point asked Cabana how's things with him and Punk, Cabana answered that he doesn't know. Which, okay, you know what? Let's just pretend it was something else. It was never related to him. Maybe Punk didn't say anything. And Tony Khan just decided, yeah, I'll take Cabana off air and not speak to anybody. Which is a huge problem, by the way, in AEW. As much as I like them, they have this problem of communication. They're like middle managers, like everybody's a middle manager. They can't communicate properly. Then we go to Brawl Out. There he just starts a huge dumb tirade that really came out of nowhere for everybody involved, and Tony Khan wasn't able to manage it properly. Just going on this huge tirade, picking on the Young Bucks, picking on DVPs, picking on Hangman, just picking on even Colt Cabana, which was funny, just a little bit. And then he goes like, if somebody has a problem with him, they know where their locker room is. By all accounts, what happens next is, I gotta guess as any, but what we do know is that the EVPs went to his locker room, and then CM Punk just decided to start swinging. You see, the problem with this is that in no place in the world are you allowed to trash your boss and your company, and when your boss comes to you, start swinging at him. You must understand this is grounds for firing somebody. In the real world, which I know is hard to understand for CM Punk fans, as they're just a bunch of marks whose only job is to defend their crushes on Twitter, I know it's hard to understand a real job in a corporate setting and something professional. You want to paint him as this professional individual where the biggest problem comes that he's not. He hasn't been at all. That he goes on that Instagram tirade against Jon Moxley. But it's never CM Punk's fault. No, CM Punk doesn't have any flaws. He doesn't have any agency. When bad things happen to CM Punk is because somebody else brought them upon him. He didn't decide to shoot on the EVPs. He didn't decide to tell them to pull up on his locker room. He didn't start throwing punches left and right and then had his rabbit friend come in and bite one of the EVPs, which, again, that's pretty funny. I consider that funny, in its own right. Trashing the company was never CM Punk's doing. No, it's Hangman Adam Page because through the power of telekinetic or telepathy, he used CM Punk's body to trash the EVPs, to trash the company, to pick on Colt Cabana, which was funny again, and started this whole fight that got him and the EVP suspended, and a few others, which is quite funny when you think about it. The head of talent's relationship, Christopher Daniels, was just sent home as a precautionary measure alongside a few others, including Nakazawa, which, does he still work for AEW? Question aside. What happens next is that AEW gets another show. And this show, rather than, focusing on making its own brand and so on, Tony Khan decides to make it the CM Punk show. And then some things happen there, which, okay, at some point the Elite makes fun of CM Punk in one of their trios matches, and then CM Punk retorts back that he's 1 mil Phil. That was a pretty smart line. And you know what, this time around, after a suspension, after both parties were suspended, after a fight, you'd think that CM Punk would tone it down and, be like tit for tat, that's it. No. Funnily enough, he continues taking pot shots at the Elite and at Hangman Adam Page, who, Page didn't say anything. Like, Page kept quiet about this for a long while, and he didn't really say anything about it, just posted once a picture of a drink, I guess, and said karma, whatever. And you know what, when you think that things are starting to lay low, what happens next? Crimea River happens because Jungle Boy decides to use real glass, which was a dumb move. I have to agree there. It's a stupid move, especially for someone so young. But then again, Mick Foley did that, and Jack Perry is slimmer than Mick Foley ever was, so because of that, he might take it easier, but still he had a nasty laceration on his arm, so not a smart move. But what happens after the whole Crimea River and that thing? CM Punk starts hitting him. He felt so disrespected by this Crimea River because he told the Jungle Boy to not do it. He decided to fight him. You can't tell me somebody that just jumps on the first fight for such a little comment is somebody that's mature or professional. The problem with Punk is that he's still stuck in that mentality he had back in Ring of Honor. That whole idea that he's being a rebel. But people want to paint him as this professional guy. But the only reason Punk got over was because he was a rebel. He was a punk. He was somebody that didn't respect rules, didn't listen to authority, and so on. And when people do the same thing that he's doing pretty much, or he did, then it's a problem because they're not respecting him. And once you compare this to every story that is out there, from Rob Van Dam to Booker T, about how nasty he can be and how he really wanted to be a locker room leader, you kind of get a picture of the man. But then again, there's also this other thing. FTR has good things to say about him. Fuego del Sol has good things to say not only about CM Punk, but also about the Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega. But having friends doesn't really mean that you're not an asshole, because at the end of the day, that's what CM Punk is. He always pretends to be the victim, and that's a mentality his fans seem to share, because they're hive mind at this point. They're always the victim, they're always the most oppressed, they're always the ones that suffer the most, and they're always the ones that are always right. The issue is that CM Punk isn't right, his fans aren't right. What CM Punk did, he did it with his own hands. He had agency, he had control, he had the ability to think and do things. And he did them, and look where that got him. Fired, and WWE says they're not keen on him. But WWE nowadays, I'm suspecting they're gonna be keen on getting him just for bragging rights and points like they did with Cody Rhodes. Fine, I'll just skip his segments, I don't care, if that ever comes to be. But you have to understand, CM Punk screwed over CM Punk is the same line that people use for Bret Hart. At the end of the day, he screwed himself. He screwed himself out of a bunch of money. He screwed himself out of a lot of possibilities. And in this case, out of working with AEW, which, you know what, for better or for worse, it's good that they parted ways. AEW is a better product, or was a better product before he came, and going to their old roots might just help them in the long run. And for CM Punk, I don't know. Maybe one day he'll address those things he said on Colt Cabana's podcast about that girl. But let's be honest, you won't hear that from him. He's always the victim.